done this, but have you forgotten what words say? Like, it says Invincible Iron Man.
It is the Invisible Iron Man. That's what I said. Invisible Iron Man.
He
He
not
flies
Sue
so
Storm.
fast, he's invisible.
I don't think that's his power, Greg.
He's not the Prince of Power?
I don't. Like how? I guess it's enunciation. Not that you've ever made fun of me for that before.
He's the Invisible Iron Man.
Hey, by the way, we have a new podcast listener.
We do?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Well, because I have a coworker
invisible?
that has a but I have a coworker that has a podcast.
Oh.
Should I like shout her podcast out because she listened to us?
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, it has nothing to do with comics. Yeah, it has redacted. If this part goes blank, you'll know what's up. No, her podcast is called Ed Up, Ed Tech. She talks about educational technology. If you're a nerd like me who does that for work, it's kind of cool. I'm not sure that there's a lot of crossover with our listeners, but I thought it was really nice that she listened to our podcast.
That is cool.
And she said we were kind of funny. I don't know if that was an endorsement or not.
I mean, I tend to think we're funny all the time. I mean, but it's nice to hear other people think we're funny, unless it's just like, hey, you guys are real funny. Ha, ha, ha.
I don't think she meant that. It seemed genuine, I mean, but who knows?
People used to say we were real funny in high school too, Dan. People used to say we were funny all the time. I don't think they were saying we were funny. I was funny. I
think people said you were funny. I don't recall anybody ever saying I was funny.
I don't know. They said
I tried to cut like a I was doing something for work during our 3 months hiatus, and I was supposed to do a video, and somebody asked me to talk about this program I was building, and I was so intense. The guy said, "Can you do that again, but do it in a way that doesn't make people think you want to kill them?"
Oh no, not again.
Yeah, that whole funny book forensics thing, that whole debater thing kicks right in anytime I talk about things. It's pretty intense.
Just like it's going straight for the jugular.
I don't think you were the one. Yeah, I think you were the one they were saying was funny.
Okay.
I don't know. Is funny the right word or is goofy the right word? I'm not really
goofy,
I'm not
funny.
Really sure.
It's similar, but not the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's nice to know that somebody listened to us. And
is it in the thesaurus, like under funny?
It's in the dinosaur next to funny. Yes.
Okay.
The dinosaur.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, these are the clever witticisms that bring people back after a 3-month hiatus to our podcast.
Yeah.
It's very important that we start this way.
They come back and they're like, whoa, you guys are funny. Talking about dinosaurs and invisible Iron Mans.
Here's what I will say.
What?
I've been following since we did the one issue of Iron Man, and just as a refresher, since it has been 3 months, we started with issue 120, the beginning of a demon in the bottle storyline.
Yeah. I
will say if you go back a couple of issues before that to David Michelinie and Bob Layton's run on the book, it wouldn't hurt you to go back a couple issues before issue 120, I think, and start. So we talked about that in the last episode, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there, but I will say, go to the start of their run and read forward maybe, but we're only going to be covering 120 to the end of the Demon in the Bottle storyline. So that's what we're working with. And I've also been following Bob Layton on Twitter. Do people still follow people on Twitter, or is that not okay anymore?
I don't know. I haven't been on in a while.
I don't know if he has a check mark or not. I can look at that.
I don't know how that whole thing works anymore. I think they they took it away.
Is it like a check minus? I used to get those in schoolwork.
I think it's like when you're trying to play Fortnite and you got to pay to play to win.
I don't know anything about Fortnite.
So, I mean, I haven't played in a long time. And then I tried to log in and I was like, oh, I can't.
I just know that Fortnite's that thing that half my friends are addicted to. It's insane.
So I don't play.
Oh, Bob Layton does not have a check mark.
Oh, then he's a norm. He's a normal.
Apparently, there's also a Bob Layton that was a news director and anchor and award-winning TV editorialist.
Oh,
and I think Bob Layton was also a award-winning editor. So
the same
that
person?
Could be confusing.
Yeah. Could be.
I don't see a check mark, but I really love Bob Layton's Twitter. He talks about Iron Man all the time. So if you want to know about Bob Layton's run on Iron Man, you can just follow that Twitter, and he's putting a bunch of the suits up all the time, different things. It's kind of neat. And so since I started deep diving Iron Man and this era of Iron Man, this has been a really neat find. I really like following his Twitter. So I'll jump that out there for everybody.
Neat.
He describes himself as considered the definitive Iron Man creator. It was the capitalized. Artist and editor for Marvel, Valiant, and DC Comics. K-drama fan, so apparently he watches Korean dramas.
Oh, hey, all right.
Screenwriter for film and TV. And he says, mature sex symbol.
Interesting.
I do find that interesting. I'm not sure. I mean...
So, like if, like the Golden Girls...
No, I think he's trying to. No, I don't think it's golden. Maybe. I was kind of thinking he was going like for Blanche? daddy carrot.
Daddy. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, we'd have to. I mean, maybe if Mr. Layton wants to be on the podcast someday, he could come on and talk to us about Iron Man. After this 2 minutes, probably that's never happening. But it could. He could always want to come on and talk about his sex symbol status. You
Dream
made him
daddy.
A golden girl, and I made him a daddy. So I don't know.
Daddy.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Was it there? Oh, wait. What was the Golden Girl show that the guys one that nobody watched? That's Empty Nest.
Empty Nest.
He could have been on Empty Nest.
Yeah, he could have been on
That was
Empty
like
Nest.
the male Golden Girls, right?
Male Golden Girls. Yeah, it was definitely the male Golden Girls. I never really watched that, so I couldn't really tell you. But it had a great cast. I just never watched it. But I
think that's the consensus over time: is one is remembered and one isn't. But maybe Bob Layton could have been on Empty Nest.
Yeah,
it's possible. Well, anyway, when we last left Iron Man, he was underwater.
Invisible.
He was not invisible. He was very much visible.
Oh, okay.
Namor had beaten the shit out of him.
Oh my gosh, that's right. And I've already sunk him. You got us that rating now. Now we got to put that. I know. Now I got to put my
explicit up. I know. I just have to get one cuss word so I can put the explicit in, because we know more people buy stuff if it has like the explicit rating.
Yeah,
because we want to be XXX stream. Like HBO MAXX, which is now MAXXX instead of HBO, because I don't even want to get into that. Why am I transitioning to that?
I don't know,
That's a lot,
dude.
Yeah.
You just like went off the rails.
I know, you're shocked that I would go off the rails. So Iron Man's underwater.
He was, which is crazy because he's in an iron suit and it would just sink like a rock.
And his power battery was gone.
Oh man, so his shields were down, his little glass thing popped.
And he couldn't find his magic lantern because he's underwater, so he can't say in brightest day and blackest night.
He said,
yeah, so he couldn't find that power battery to recharge the uniform.
Wait a minute, I think you're talking the wrong comic book.
Oh, are you sure?
The lantern?
Well, I mean, have you seen how Iron Man powers his uniform? I don't know. Like last we saw it, it came out of a suitcase.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think he uses a giant Hot Wheels track.
It's entirely possible. What if it was an underwater giant Hot Wheels track?
Okay. Could be.
Maybe he was using the plane to recharge it, and that's why the plane crashed.
Oh my gosh, that's why they threw a tank into it.
Well, last issue though, I got to fly in first class 3 times since we last podcasted.
Oh my gosh.
And let me tell you, my experience in first class was not like what you saw in this comic.
You didn't get a tank thrown into your plane?
I did not get a tank thrown into the airplane. That did not happen.
Didn't get
the guy in front of me flung his seat back so hard that it threw my tablet off that rest thing they put on the seats into my lap.
That's terrible.
And then said, "Oh, I didn't know I had to tell you when I was moving my seat back." I was like, dude, just don't push it back so hard. Everything goes flying. Like, I feel like there's middle ground here.
Yeah, there should be like this whole thing called common sense. I think a lot of people just don't have it anymore. And that's not me being like
it's like not like you're jerk. Being old.
It's not me being an old jerk. It's just like,
get off my lawn.
No, it's just like you are in a chair and you're sharing the same space with somebody behind you. You not saying you have to be super delicate with the chair. You just have to think about it. Like if the chair in front of you is doing the same thing and your chair is connected to that chair, or the thing that's in front of you that's holding your stuff is connected to the chair in front of you, the chair behind you would be using the same thing that's connected to your chair. The thought process in my head, but again, a lot of people don't have that kind of common sense. They're too tired. They have other things going through their head. I am sure there's a million scenarios to jump to his defense, and I'm sure they're all great. He just wasn't thinking about you at the time, Dan. I'm so sorry.
I don't think he was thinking about much of anything because he reclined his seat before we even took off. Which
Then he was probably already drinking before he got on the plane.
Well, they did give me drinks, so that was cool.
Well, hey.
That was probably the only similarity between what we saw.
Yeah,
and the flight attendant. The flight attendant was very nice, actually.
Yeah? Okay.
We were delayed.
Did you throw some old lady out of the bathroom?
No, I did not. I did not throw any old ladies out of the bathroom. That didn't happen.
To change into your Iron Man suit? Wouldn't that be hilarious? If you
I'm one of those guys that only uses the airplane, the bathroom on a flight if it's like a flight over like 6 or 7 hours, right? Like I think
I'm gonna hold it because I got an iron bladder.
Yeah, the airplane bathroom. It's not first class. Let's just say that. I mean,
it might be in first class, but it's not first class.
Bathroom.
Yeah. I mean,
it's nice that they have them. Don't get me wrong, and it's nice that they're there when you need them. When you need them, they're good to have.
Yeah.
It's also nice to have just the first class bathroom, all just to the first class people. I kind of like that.
You're like, stay back, please, away from me.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you up here. And I'm like, sorry, Dan. I'm back here. I'm double finger gunning my nose. I got two index fingers up my nostrils, and I'm like, I'm having a great time back here.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen when we go on our trip. You're going to put me in the back.
Hopefully, we'll see. We can talk about that later, but yeah, who knows? I think I may get us better seats than that if we actually book it. But anyway.
Okay.
So we're looking at Iron Man number 121. We're actually going to talk about this comic book.
Not just an invisible podcast.
So first off, we get a fantastic Bob Layton cover before we get Bob Layton making John Romita Jr. look great.
That's true.
So as you might have heard in the past, I'm not a super big fan of John Romita Jr. John Romita,
yes, John Romita Jr. Not so much in Dan's
but Bob Layton does an amazing job making his pencils look great. So
yeah, they do look really good.
But in this case, the cover is all Bob Layton. So we've got a nice Bob Layton penciled and inked cover, and we've got Iron Man bending giant guns on a ship.
Yeah.
And we've got bullets bouncing off Namor. I didn't know Namor was bulletproof.
There's a lot about Namor you don't know.
That's fair. He lives in the ocean.
He lives in a pineapple under the sea.
He definitely doesn't live where they show him in that Wakanda movie.
Yeah. He's Namor wing feet.
But just as a reminder, too, this is sort of a mini tie-in with Wakanda Forever because they found an island with vibranium under it. Yeah. And so it is sort of like the Wakanda Forever movie. It's interesting that we get into that. But there's no Black Panther and there's no Wakandans. So there's that.
Yet.
We just have that old dude that lives there.
Yes.
Well, we can flip off the cover to the first page, and we've got, hey, he's underwater still. That's good. And we've got also a credits bubble with David Michelinie, plot and writer, John Romita Jr., pencils, Bob Layton, plot and finished art, John Costanza letters. Fantastic. I love John Costanza letters. I'm actually serious about that. And Carl Gafford on colors. These are some of my favorite folks right there.
And these colors are amazing. Like this page is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I wonder, and we're on the electronic version. Obviously I can't afford to buy these. Well, I probably could afford to buy them, but I'm not going to choose to buy these.
It's so bright.
But yeah, these are really bright. I think when they recolor them electronically, you get a lot more depth in the shading. But
yeah,
it's also, we have Roger Stern as the editor and Jim Sharpshooter, editor-in-chief, who broke in writing what book? Who broke in writing what? What?
It was one of those.
Because we read one of his books already. You've forgotten. He wrote into Action Comics, and what superhero group did he break in writing?
It was that one group that there's a bunch of them, and they got a
And
couple of these.
their history is way too confusing for anybody to
There's
relaunch,
some of
and nobody
these and
could get
some of
into the
them,
book.
and
It's so boring.
yeah, there's like he eats a bad apple or something like that, and
Right, and it's always it's the same group that has like the top 10 characters and the stupidest powers articles every time for CBR, because CBR has zero originality in their writing.
Superboy used to hang out with them at one point, I guess.
Superboy did they actually kicked Superboy out of his own book.
They said, "Get out of here. We're too good for you."
They were also the number 2 selling comic for DC Comics in 1982, 1983, and 1984. Not that I know that or anything.
Not that you know that or anything, yeah. Just a small little smidgen.
Anyway, we wouldn't want to focus on that. That's the past now. Yeah.
They're like a
Jim
cult.
Shooter's like the 19th editor in a row for Marvel Comics at this point, and everybody else was gone, right? Like in 1979, like 6 people in a row had quit, including Marv Wolfman.
Yeah.
Man. I'm not doing that job. Like, I'm out.
He's like, gone, done, out.
Then Jim Shooter actually stays the editor for a while, but it's his run has mixed reviews. I think that's the best statement I could say about that.
Yeah.
Mixed reviews. But I liked a lot of the comics that came during this time, so I don't know. You liked a lot more of them because you read a lot more of them.
I think it's just that's what I was force fed. I mean, that's what I was bought.
Well, we've got Iron Man, Underwater, and I'm not going to read all this scripting because it's
a lot of
underwater
scripting.
and his suit's malfunctioning.
Black Death. He's dying.
Yeah, and then
it's all those bubbles.
We get to the next page and we've got more him thinking about dying in the water.
Oh no.
And here's Namor, like, Namor grabs him and just throws him down.
I'm going to kill you more. Now you will be invisible, Iron Man.
You're drowning. Yeah, now we flip to Rhodey and Bethany, right? Mm-hmm. And they're flying in on a helicopter to see what's going on. Because, as you'll know, they got together last issue and decided to go see what Tony was doing. Iron Man was doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, something happens with Tony. You don't know 100% what's going on. Obviously, Tony's.
Well, only one of them knows that Iron Man is Tony too. Like,
something's wrong with Tony. Got to go find him.
Iron Man. It's convenient how that stuff works together.
Yeah,
it's almost like he might give away his secret identity in like the second to last page of this issue or something like that.
Maybe.
It's possible it could happen. Not to foreshadow, not to spoiler a book that's like really old compared to now.
Oh no.
But that's okay. So anyway, they're flying in the helicopter, they near the ship, and all of a sudden all right, so giant turret guns start shooting at the helicopter.
Pow, pow, pow. Yeah. Just like right off the boats. And
it's pretty amazing. And Rhodey gets shot by one of these giant turret guns, but it is just a little tiny bullet, and it goes through his arm.
Shrapnel.
Maybe so. That's possible. You would think these giant turret guns could hit a helicopter.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got like stormtrooper accuracy going on here. I think is not so great. But anyway, Beth grabs the chopper stick and gets them to land in the water, and then they get captured by the other bad guys, but the not army.
Yeah, the not army, not military, because like they're a mixture of like Army, Navy,
Air Force, Marines.
Yes,
it's a great place. It's a great place to start. What?
Yeah, exactly.
You remember those commercials, right?
Be all you can be, and
Army, Navy. No. It's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. It's a great place to start. What? You don't remember those?
It was like back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they would have like all the different
Maybe that wasn't one of their better campaigns.
All of them would. I just remember the Go Army and the Be All You Can Be.
Yeah. How come they never do the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard? It's a great place.
I don't know.
These guys kind of look more like Coast Guard to me.
They do. They do.
Or maybe Merchant Marines.
Oh, Merchant Marines.
Well, anyway, we flipped the page, and my favorite thing is happening because there are no page numbers at the bottom of these pages.
Oh, your favorite thing, yes.
Why have page numbers? Like, why give me any indication of where I'm at in the book?
Because, you don't really need it.
But Iron Man wakes up, and he gets a full view
of Namor's
full
feet.
Frontal. No, we get a view of Namor's ankles. He's looking up. He's got a full frontal view
of Namor.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
He's like, I just saw Namor's tidy green scaly pants. What?
Scaly pants.
Well, he's sitting on the beach, and we get a view of Namor's wings on his feet.
Yes. Why does he have wings on his feet, Dan?
I don't know. We discussed this last time. I have no idea. It makes
I
no
you would have
sense.
Figured it out by now.
No, I have not figured this out by now. Like, he's a mutant.
It's to help
and
him
his
fly
mutant
in the
power
water.
is to have wings on his feet.
It helps him fly in the water.
He should already be able to swim underwater, right? Like that
helps him
that's
fly.
not a mutant
like
power.
He's like Hermes, been in the water.
Right. Like, I mean, they rewrote him in the 80s to be the first mutant, right? Like, that was how they did that, right? Or was that the 60s?
So, yeah.
I mean, but that's how they justified his existence, right? That's why they said he was in the Timely comics back before Marvel even existed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they became Marvel. And now they wanted to use Namor, and we'll just make him the first mutant, even though there were no mutants then. They were just superheroes, right?
Yes.
But he's the first mutant, right? But he's from Atlantis, so nobody knew. So he couldn't have gone to Dr. Xavier's school because
he didn't need it.
He's kind of grumpy too. I mean,
Namor's always grumpy. I mean, he's got that giant ass widow's peak. He's got wings on his feet. He's got all these. He's in green underwear. I mean,
and he has naturally angry eyebrows too.
Naturally
always
angry.
Very
and
grumpy.
Pointy ears. So I mean, it's like all the things. All the things.
But Iron Man rescues him, pulls him to the Namor rescues him, pulls him to the sand, and he's like, well, you deserve a noble death, even though you attacked poor Hiram Dobbs, the hermit on the island. And if you choose continue your aggression, you'll be forced to bring about. And as you'll recall, this is where they had a giant fight scene in Wakanda Forever, right? Fighting on the beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not going to happen here because even though this story maybe inspired that story, it's not exactly how this story goes. So this is why you read the original comics and you watch the movies, because you get to see where things came from. But in this case, different story. So now we've got Hiram Dobbs. Have you even watched Wakanda Forever yet?
I have not watched it yet.
I'm just spoiling that.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay. I was trying to get Anne to watch it with me, and she's like, "No, I don't watch it right now."
You know,
I'm just gonna watch it myself. So
why don't you watch it with Grandma?
Grandma doesn't want to watch anything except for sumo wrestling and the Japanese police drama.
I want to do a sumo watch along podcast with Baba.
Oh my gosh,
that has to happen.
It'd be something. She'd be yelling a lot.
A
lot of yelling.
That would make my freaking universe.
Oh my gosh,
that would be amazing.
Yeah. I
just want her to explain sumo to us.
Oh, they fight and then they throw salt. They throw salt, then they fight. One person loses and the other person disgraced forever.
But I want her to explain all the rules to us.
No.
Getting thrown out of the circle and
that is
getting
the extent of the explanation I've gotten from her. Okay. Disgraced forever. Well, you lose. Wow. Disgraced.
Don't lose.
You're a loser.
Apparently. Well, Hiram chimes in on the next page. He says, now, you just wait a cotton picking minute, Sonny. This here's my island, and I didn't want to no one get hurt. Apparently, Hiram Dobbs has picked up like an interesting Southern vernacular while he lived alone on an island.
Yes. And
we're going to find out where he's from in a few minutes.
And that even makes
really
it
not
more
understanding where the Southern accent comes from.
Well, he I do believe Mr. Dobbs is just a,
stereotype.
Yeah.
Mr. Dobbs just stereotype. I mean, as we analyze books written for kids, it's good. However, I don't think this Demon in a Bottle storyline was not written for little kids. So
no, it was written for older children, mainly in their late 20s and early 30s
and late 40s. Yeah. So it happens to be where we're looking at this, and anyway, we're finding that there's some stuff beneath the mountain, and some petrochemical wastes have been deposited there under this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And Namor didn't like that, so he came to check it out. He got poisoned.
Yeah.
And then Hiram Dobbs rescues him from the water, nurses him back to health.
I like that he was fishing and he probably was like, "Oh my God, I got a big one." And he's like, "Oh shit, not another man."
I love the fact that he was fishing too when he rescues Namor.
He's like, "Damn it, not another man fish." Last
also,
time
like,
was old Greg.
Also, like, don't you think he'd have a better fishing pole than that? I mean, it's just like a stick.
Don't judge.
And he could
some
work
of the
for
best
him.
fish. Some of the best fishing gets caught with the darndest things.
Well, now we get the reveal. Are you ready? Yes. Iron Man says, "This island has been used by the military for years as a secret disposal area for nuclear byproducts. If Mr. Dobbs stays here much longer, they could kill him." And he says, "Look, Sonny, I didn't know what kind of bull cookies they've been feeding you, but I ain't never seen soldier boys on this island till this morning. And I've been living here more than 20 years. So...
Oh, no.
We've got a reveal. It's not the army. They're lying, Greg. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Oh, turn the page. New scene.
I did.
New scene.
New scene.
All right. Well, the fake army is patching Rhodey up, and they said the wounds aren't fatal. That's good.
Yeah. Oh, lucky. Man.
And then they turn around, and Beth beats one up, and Rhodey hits one. And hits the scientist, the doctor that's fixing him up. That seems like a bad idea. I feel like I beat up just the guard and probably keep the doctor if somebody shot my arm.
Well, you know, you can't.
That's pretty amazing definition on Rhodey for somebody who arm just got torn in half too.
Yeah, and then boom. He's Rhodey.
But they anyway. Now we've got
glasses.
Now we've got the next page. Beth and Rhodey have figured this out. Beth's like, "Uncle Sam, my butt. They'd have recognized my security clearance if they were Uncle Sam." Oh. And we get into the room, and we've got a villain.
No.
Yes, we do. He says, "We're not precisely naval personnel, and we have few compunctions against harming civilians. Now, would you care to put that weapon down? Slowly." And there's a big sign behind him that says Roxxon, Roxxon, which means Roxxon is extreme.
It sounds like something like Exxon.
Oh.
Yeah.
And this is way before the Exxon Valdez.
Yeah. Pouring oil into the ocean, into the Alaskan.
But I'm sure there's been some tanker leaks. That's a good call out.
Yeah.
I bet there's probably a web page that says every time Exxon had a tanker leak.
Oh, probably. It's been a lot. Or when, one of those little drilling stations, the oil rigs, has a problem and blows up, and they have to put a garbage ball into the hole to block all the oil from coming up.
One, of course, the first thing I see when I look this up is Exxon Valdez, so I'm not getting a lot right off. But I mean, that was way after this story, so
yeah.
It's 89. But yeah, well, not getting anything off, but I'm sure there had been some oil spills, so maybe it wasn't Exxon. But clever Roxxon, that's good catch there. Like that's I didn't catch that one. And he just spells it out. If it will facilitate your surrender, Ms. Cabe, we represent Roxxon Oil, and we're in the process of stealing an island on whose foundation is comprised of a unique element known as vibranium.
Whoa.
Okay, so we've just... okay, well, the plot's here. We're here. We're good.
Yeah, just laid it all out. Put it right there on the page.
We really just needed this page, and then we're good.
Yeah, that was the whole story. This is what's going down. Ooh, children, what's that sound?
I also think this page really illustrates, and by the way, can I just say
business, corporations?
Well, yeah, there's that part. Not the point I was going to make. But that, yes. It also illustrates how amazing Bob Layton's inks are.
Oh, yeah, that.
There is that. And maybe John Romita Jr. was good once. So, I can't discount that.
That Roxxon sign.
I don't think so, because there's a lot of shadows in those faces and those weird lined faces I don't like and that he does. And they can't all be inked out. If you look at the henchman that's 1-2 in from the left, that's a John Romita Jr. face right there.
Yeah.
Generic ass, elongate things, move things in. Just awful. Can't stand it. Just generic is all hell, no distinction.
Joe Camel face?
Lazy ass drawing. And admittedly, I can't pencil for shit. So, I mean, hard for me to criticize. I'm also not being published by a major comic book publisher for 40 years. So there's that. But I don't think John Romita Jr. is ever coming on our podcast.
No.
He comes on to defend himself.
And another thing, you guys, you only have 2 listeners.
Yeah. When there is opportunity for Layton to ink, like on those faces in the panel above, you can really see it. Even though you can still see some of the facial structure in Rhodey in that panel above it that I'm talking about from Romita Jr., right?
Yeah.
But you can really see where the inking and the shadowing comes in, or should I say finishing, because I believe that's how Bob Layton labeled it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not just a fucking tracer.
No, he's a finisher. He's a finisher.
So we've got the plot now. What I was going to say about the plot reveal is this. Okay, I mean, the overarching plot is focused on Tony Stark and his alcohol addiction, right? And we're getting the subtle hints of it. So the plots in these in this storyline are a little bit more subtle. Though, well, I will say this is like the first time we get Roxxon Oil, and Roxxon Oil becomes a long-term Iron Man villain that Layton will go back to.
Right.
So, and finishes out a lot of the story here over the next few issues. So welcome Roxxon Oil.
Hey,
and a new villain.
Welcome to the party.
And I love the 70s comics, even though this is late 70s, because just like just like the Green Lantern drug comic issues, right? The corporation is the villain, right? Remember there it was the drug company that was making the heroin, right? And sending it to the streets, but they had the front that they were a legitimate drug company. Now we have the front that these guys are a legitimate oil company.
But they're just thieving the vibranium.
And I will say this too, like we have this whole kind of subplot before, or is it after? I don't even want to talk, but there's a subplot like about whether or not Tony's company will get taken over. I think that was right before these issues, right?
Oh yeah,
if I screwed it up and it's in the future of these issues, then
it started to get dropped out slightly before.
Yeah, it was right before. So I mean, that's been going on too. So this whole corporate takeover, corporation thing. Oh yeah, they tried to Shield tried to take them over, which was
because of the amount of stock that he had, and he gifted some of it out, and
if it happens after this, dear listeners, I apologize. I got my order out and I spoiled a little bit of the future, but I'll stop talking about it so I don't spoil the whole storyline. I won't tell you what happens. I'm just telling you it was a plot point, and we'll just go from there. So you don't know what will happen in Stark Industries.
It's so sad.
Well, anyway, now we get one of the funniest scenes ever in comics on the next page, because we've got Iron Man charging his suit with a gas-powered generator.
It's just like when you see like a electric car getting a gas generator.
He's like, this is taking forever.
Oh man, yeah, I know, it's kind of slow.
I want to know where they got the gas on the island where Hiram's been living for like ever.
Actually, okay, so you go back to an old episode of G.I. Joe I remember watching, and if you get enough olive oil, you can turn it into fuel.
Okay.
They go back in time and end up in Greece, Dan. And when they
refined olive oil?
They refine the olive oil and turn it into gas.
Okay.
Which it's a big stretch, but it works. They could have just made alcohol, I'm sure, but they didn't want to say that in front of kids. So they used olive oil.
Well, since we got the Roxxon Oil reveal.
Yes, they're using a gas generator, yes.
So now, since we got the Roxxon Oil review, now ironically, hypocritically, Iron Man's using a gas generator. But anyway, now we get into the next page. We're getting the history of Hiram. All right.
Oh, yeah. So
Hiram grew up in small town Indiana that became big town Indiana, big city, which I assume that would be Indianapolis since it's Indiana. And
I see a sign that says Flint up there, but that's Michigan, right? So
yeah, Flint is in Michigan. I mean, there may be a Flint, Indiana. I don't know. I mean, these are the things that we look up live on the podcast. And these are the things we look up live on the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
About geography.
Yeah.
I typed in Flint, Indiana, and I've got Flint, Jackson Township, Indiana. There is a Flint, Indiana.
Is it a big city or a small city?
It is not a big city. It's in zip code 46703 and only has one zip code.
Oh.
Flint is a small, unincorporated community located west of Angola in Jackson Township, Steuben County, Indiana. A post office was established at Flint in 1850 and remained in operation until it was discontinued in 1907.
Okay. So
this is
he could have just stayed in a small town because it never
I
got
don't
any
see,
bigger.
I'm pretty sure this is an analog for Indianapolis. That would
okay.
be my guess.
I
mean, name one. Well, I can, but I want to see. We're going to test Greg's geography for a second. Name one other large town in Indiana. Go.
Gary.
I mean, that's a suburb of Chicago.
Oh,
so
is it?
Yes.
I thought it was Gary, Indiana.
It is in Indiana, but you are aware that you can have suburbs across the state line.
Okay. Well,
it's in the Gary. I mean, I'll kind of give you Gary, but it's definitely in the Chicago metro area.
Okay. Well, that's what I got. So you asked. All right. I gave you.
Well, you've got Indianapolis, and then that's it. So I would have given you Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And even though they're not huge communities, I would have given you South Bend or Lafayette for the schools that are there.
Okay.
I couldn't give you anything like Evansville because that's too close to Louisville. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much we're talking Indianapolis here. All right. And welcome back to Indiana Geography Cast.
Wow. That's a lot of great information, Dan. I can't wait till we cover Ohio next week.
Well, honestly, we hate to see progress in Indiana, where in 1924, 7 of the 8 congressional seats were held by members of the Ku Klux Klan. So I would hate to see Indianapolis grow up from a small, unincorporated area to a big city.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's probably why he moved to an island with his wife, away from all that garbage.
Yeah, away from all that progress that we had there in the city. These two fine white folks.
To move to
took a dark turn.
Wow, Dan, you are great at the. Oh boy. Well, then his wife dies. So there you go. It even got darker. Yeah. But he knew that he wasn't alone in his heart because he had hatred.
Moved to an island. His wife dies, and he lives there, and he grows long white hair and a long white beard because that's what you look like when you live on an island.
And then he becomes a Southerner. Oh my God. Do you think he was part of the... Oh, Dan, it did take a dark turn.
Yeah,
Oh my God. Now we can't hire him.
This is why I can't do stand-up. Right?
Yeah, because you brought him like, and it's even weirder because like he's like a total like he's a total upstart kind of guy in that top corner. You know, he's got his suit and everything like that. They're living the life and everything like that, and then it's almost like they're like they're Bitcoin people in the 2020s here, right? and he's like, yeah, and then I got tired of living in the big cities, so we left
to go on an island
to go, you know, to be I almost said Yelpers.
Well, and how many people did he murder on this island to take it over?
He leaves that
part of the story out.
It's not just a cemetery for his wife. It's a cemetery for like 30 other people.
He just found an empty island conveniently. Nobody lived there. Like every white European man, he just found an area of the world to live in. And
chances are it was populated. They went there and they brought their disease and sickness and plagued the island.
Yeah, boy, okay. So anyway,
wow, dude, so Iron Man takes his things and then they zap the shit out of him.
Yeah, and they zap him. He's fine and he has a suit. And we're back. So Namor's upset because he got tricked, and Iron Man's upset because he got tricked, and now they're going to go beat up the bad guys, but they don't know who the bad guys are yet. They just know that they're bad guys, right? They don't know it's Roxxon Oil yet. They just know that they're fake army guys or fake Navy guys.
Yeah. Fake guys. They're fake
military.
Fake military guys.
So they're on their way to beat up the fake military. And
go get
here
them.
It goes. Yeah. So they're gonna get him. All right. And so here they come.
And
Roxxon Oil guy. What was his name again?
Rad Roxxon.
Rad Roxxon. I like it. Yeah. Rad Roxxon. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that? Rad Roxxon
says? Captain Rad.
Like Norin Rad. Is he related to the Silver Surfer?
Yeah. Norin Rad. Captain Rad.
Captain Rad Roxxon. Well,
Captain Rad Roxxon.
Rad Roxxon says, those blasted superheroes have gotten wise somehow. Order all batteries to lock on and blow them into shark bait. If that's not, by the way, you brought up you brought up G.I. Joe. If that's not a Cobra Commander line, I don't know what is.
It totally is. Like, he looks like, okay, honestly, he looks like Major Blood, like facially, but then with the sunglasses and everything like that, and the stances and everything in that panel, total Cobra Commander, total Cobra Commander lines.
If he yells retreat, I'm going to be so happy here in a few minutes. I don't think
this could be like literally, because Marvel did the comics. This is a Marvel book. What if Roxxon Oil? What if this is the genesis
became Cobra?
What if he is
based
Cobra
on how
Commander?
this storyline goes, that could entirely be possible.
I know, right? I mean, like, this totally could be. I have a feeling we're onto something here. Cobra Commander underneath that shiny helmet has a frickin' head of red hair and a wicked ass mustache.
All right. Well, if you're ready for this one, I did verify it, so I did know it because I've seen some posts from him lately. But who drew first issue of G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero?
John Romita Jr. No, I'm just joking.
No,
I know.
Larry Hama.
Yeah, Larry Hama. Yes, I have a bunch of my
upgrade.
I have a bunch of my original, a bunch of the G.I. Joe comic books that I had purchased when I was a child.
Yep.
Signed by Larry.
Nice. I think I saw that because I think he's coming to SummerCon.
Yeah, he's coming to SummerCon. When he was in the area 5 years ago, and we were at a show together. He was in a different area, and Anne was nice enough to take my books because I couldn't get away from the table and go have him sign the books. And he was like, "Are these yours?" And she's like, "They're my husband's. He can't leave the table." And then, he signed the books. And then actually, oddly enough, Randy Emerlin had worked on a couple of the books with Larry, and Randy was a table or two away from him. So they signed the books together. So it's
my
cool.
God.
I know.
That's so fantastic.
I know. I'm like giant chunk of my childhood, but I'm kind of jealous that she got to meet Larry because like apparently he's like super. She was like, he's so nice.
Well, it's not too late because
I know.
We'll discuss that later, but we could totally do it.
Totally do it. I know.
Maybe if we did it on a Friday. So yeah,
I go have him re-sign the comic books that I've already had him sign.
But anyway, I can bring my G.I. Joe comic books to have him sign. There
can only be one. I'll set them on fire.
No, anyway, wow.
I'm sorry. I'm jealous. He's a green-eyed monster. It's terrible.
Well, anyway,
yes.
We have a fight. Fights happen.
Yeah, we're having a fight like Namor and Iron Man.
Iron Man's like rolling up ships.
Who? Am I Iron Man or is Dan Iron Man or is Dan Namor?
You can be Iron Man.
Namor?
I hate Iron Man. You can be Iron Man.
I'll be Namor with your little winged feet
and my eyebrows.
Your green underwear.
Definitely my eyebrows. Definitely my eyebrows match Namor more than yours do, and I would definitely be more likely to wear that than you.
That's true. And I would have the Iron Man suit, and totally.
So fight happens over like 3 or 4 pages. I'll let you guess who wins.
Cobra. I mean, yeah. Roxxon.
So we do get some good roadie lines in here. This is what the sailor says. "Hey, Captain, destroyers heading this way. The real Navy must have questioned these survivors at the hospital." Rhodey says, well, looks like it's back to the gas pumps for you, Capitano. I guess that's what you do when you're an oil company. You go back to pumping gas instead of running a giant paramilitary operation known as Cobra.
Yeah.
Known as Roxxon Oil.
It is actually kind of in the next panel, he looks like Stan Lee.
He kind of does.
It's
that might be a little jab by Mr. Romita Jr.
It's kind of weird because he looks like Stanley. Oh
wow! Roxxon says, "I'm not. I know when I'm beaten, Mister." This sounds totally Cobra Commander.
It does. Retreat.
But if Roxxon can't have that vibranium, by God, nobody will.
Nobody will.
That's practically a retreat right there. Well,
retreat.
So all right. So all the stuff on the island starts getting blown up. Iron Man starts pulling the ships all by himself with chains he found.
Yeah, dude, because he's Iron Man.
And he also gives away his secret identity on the same page.
This thing's at an Iron Man can. That's
yeah, because he says, "I'm way ahead of you, Rhodey. You just get Beth to safety." And Beth's like, "Huh? Beth? How does he know my name?" Like,
Beth?
Oops.
Whoa.
Way to go, Tony. That's what happens when you're a little tipsy when you're doing a fight. You give stuff away. Because you'll recall he got drunk on the plane last issue.
Oh, yeah. And then he got his ass handed to him by Namor. So he's a little shell-shocked.
And he definitely hasn't had any sleep. And he's definitely had all that blood pumping through his system. So yeah, he could be really lit right now.
Oh, yeah. He's a little...
Though they don't mention that in the entire rest of the story. So
No.
Anyway, Namor grabs Hiram and pulls him away from the island. And the island gets blown up. And that's awful. And it gets destroyed. And he yells for Mary. And it's really sad. And then... they have the debrief with the Navy, and they tell him what happened, and they decide that they should probably protect the vibranium, and then Hiram's just crying. The end.
As he should. I mean, because that's what happens when your dreams are dashed and you lost everything.
I'll just say too, David Michelinie's concepts are growing on me. Mm-hmm. I mentioned in the last podcast that my other exposure to some of his scripting wasn't my favorite. Yeah. And I'll still say the Cobra Commander stuff and things like that. I don't know that his scripting is necessarily my favorite, but the plot seems to be rolling fine. I found him and Bob Layton work on together.
I honestly that's the goofiness of it. And when you take a look at it in retrospect as being very Cobra Commander-y and very it's just out there kind of. It's funny for the super serious notes that they're hitting with certain aspects of the story, right? So there's a lot of very serious notes, and then you got this just unhinged oil company guy who's trying to take over an island and steal vibranium, with his fake military.
I also would say so I read the few issues before this and we started in 120. I am liking the redevelopment of the character, right? I mentioned that interview last time. Mm-hmm. I forget what the name of the crazy animal people were, but Michelinie and Layton, Michelinie's my first job was to get rid of those characters out of the book. He took over in the middle of a story. And he gets rid of those characters. And I do see, I like the notion that they're focusing more on Tony, Beth, and Rhodey, building those relationships, focusing on the crazy secretary. I think I love her. I forget her name at the moment, but
yeah.
So I really like that's happening.
Right. It's a lot of fun stuff. All right.
So anyway, that's the end of our journey here. And we're going to hit Iron Man, hopefully, soon we'll get these out in some sort of reasonable fashion for you. Yeah. We're going to hit Iron Man 122 and I can't wait. I actually, despite some of the fun we're making of the book, I am really enjoying, like I said, the progression of the character. Namor is going to exit early on in the next book and we're going to get some more progression of some different stories. So
I like it. And
next issue, not just as a hint, but hang on because they're going to try to do their best to update Iron Man's origin from the 60s to 1979. And you're going to comment a lot for me on this next issue because there's going to be a lot of Asian stereotypes, but maybe trying to write that out of the book. And I can't wait for your feedback.
Yeah.
On this one.
We'll talk about it.
And where I have no right to talk about it, but you have all the right to talk about it. So I am interested to see what you have to say.
I will preface it with the times were different then.
Yeah, it is going to be kind of like some of the books that I've had people read. It's going to be times were different then, but I feel like they were trying at least.
Yeah, they were trying at least. I mean, there's a lot of things you can say. We're not going to get into the full discourse, but there's a lot of stuff that was just in the last 10 years that has, as the world has changed, things are just not what things are different from when things were written. and in TV, film, other things like that, as you know, as far as like what people would be like, oh wow, that's okay, that applies to TV shows that were broadcast on regular old, you don't need any, it's not streaming, and it's just, you know, run of the mill TV, and you're like, holy crap, they said that. Yep, they did, and that was totally fine back in 2013. But
well, and I'll just say, you know, we're going to take the approach with the next book. And this is sort of a warning too for everybody, but we're going to take the approach with the next book. Anytime we read a book like this, we're going to look at it in two ways, right? We're going to call out the racism or sexism that exists in the book. But two, we're also going to place the book in the time it was written.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're seeing substantial improvement by the book from what was before, and we're seeing them try to retcon things and fix things, then we're going to call that out too, because it's only fair. And if we're not seeing that, we're also going to call that out, right?
Well, say, I mean, I'm going to say, I'll even throw it out there. I mean, because like we'll talk about where the book places it in this time period, and then where we pick it up in the film period, and where we are in today, and how each and every one of those different aspects might be a little different.
And not to get too far into it, but I think the film, okay, now I don't even know if I should have a thought, but in some ways the film version is far more racist than the next issue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's, I mean, timeliness wise, we're in a different place. And
and we also had to switch the bad guys, right? Like, you know, anyway, again, you said we wouldn't get into it, and we're starting to. As a preview next time, we may get into.
This is why you gotta listen. You gotta download the next episode. You gotta pay attention.
The next episode, because we're gonna talk about always labeling an enemy and having an enemy out there, right?
That's why you need a Roxxon.
Is the other. And
that's why you need a Cobra Commander.
We'll get into that. Yeah, it's easier if you have a Roxxon. I'd rather have a Roxxon than taking a race and labeling them as the enemy.
Yeah. Just, you know, throwing that out there.
I'd always rather have a Roxxon. I'd rather have a Cobra Commander.
Yeah, a nameless, faceless corporation, even if it is a pyramid scheme where they're just trying to sell you candles, and you know, you find out that Cobra Commander is just some Kyle that you went to high school with.
Though I will just say that, I mean, again, if I was going to critique things, and I would never do that, you know, G.I. Joe just does perpetuate the 1984 notion of endless war against unnamed powers. But, you know, I know you love your G.I. Joe, so I would never want to, like, hurt your feelings or critique that.
No. I totally, like, I agree. I agree.
There's always somebody for them to fight, right? There's always somebody... There's always somebody for the American hero to save us from.
But they don't. But they use these crazy like laser tag lasers that don't actually kill anybody. They're like a stun gun,
just at least on screen.
Yeah, on screen. So they never die,
unless you're watching Robot Chicken.
Oh my god! Or like the Community, where oh, terrible. Anyways, I could keep going. I could digress. or.
But so far, I mean, I give the first two books in the Iron Man story a little weird, with Namor sort of being the catch-all in the first couple issues, right? And Vibranium sort of being the focus as they transition to the drinking issues with the Iron Man and sort of going back to the Iron Man origin. But I will also say I do think I liked having Namor there, and I liked having the Vibranium plotline, so they could introduce the new villain, and they could also start to character build, and still have action happening, right? Like, I feel like things are happening while they're building the new Iron Man universe, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be. It was fun. I mean, they're fun reads. They're fine,
definitely.
And that's my thoughts. So, any additional thoughts before we get out of here?
No, that's all I got. I think people should come along for the journey as we unpack Iron Man, get him out of his can.
We use the can opener?
Yeah.
Would you use the electric can opener powered by a gas-powered generator?
Yeah, exactly.
And we get him out of his shell?
Yeah, just like a clam, you know, just shut it. That's what we got to do. So stick around. Keep paying attention.
We'll see you soon, unless you've got anything to plug right now.
I got nothing.
I don't think so. All right. Well, that's easy enough. Well, follow us on Twitter at FunnyBook4N6.
Or Facebook.
Instagram at the same, right? and some Facebook at actually Funny Book Forensics spelled out. Like, it's real simple. We love y'all, and we'll be back soon.